Hello and welcome to the New World Review, where it has been a long arc of Hunter x Hunter, and so it is time for some steaming good thoughts. I said steaming good thoughts. Like steamed buns, but thoughts. I steam, you steam, we all steam for Hisoka's steamed Schwing, which is cleverly covered up by this subscribe button. Hit the button and it goes from Schwing to the unfortunate grey of an unfulfilled Schwing thing. Leave my darling Hisoka unfulfilled, then give him a thumbs up of amused victory, that's right. Take away his fun, then kick him while he's... Okay, I feel bad. Just like and subscribe and let's move on to looking at episodes 58 and 59 of Hunter x Hunter. It feels like the Big Brother house all up in here, or I'm a phantom trooper, get me out of here. We got to see a lot of really lovely storylines close up or tie up or something like that, and said a sad farewell to Pakunoda. The fortunes are changing, and Crollo can't lead the spider anymore. I would love to know what Crollo's thinking, but the nature of the character is that we don't know what he's thinking unless he says it, so we have to make educated guesses. My bet is that he's not mad, but probably pained. Having spent so long trying to instill a philosophy in the troupe, instead what happened is he created emotions and engendered caring and love in his people. Pakunoda killed herself to pass on the information to the others. Uvogin died rather than give them away. The others didn't follow Pakunoda because of the values he held, but they only held those values because they cared enough about him and respected him enough to hold them. Once Pakunoda was dead and they knew why she'd done what she did, they didn't even pretend to be living by his values, instead splitting the way the troupe does to find a way to help him. They know they can't kill Kurapika because that might have repercussions on Crollo, so they're just going to live with the knowledge that they have a serial killer after them who they believe, or may not believe, wants to pick them off one by one, depending on how they interpret what Pakunoda passes on to them. And does Kurapika actually want to kill them? I don't think so. I think he wants revenge, and there are things worse than death. Separating Crollo from the rest of the troupe cuts him off from the values he held. He can find a way to deal with that blade on his heart, but he won't because he values his life more than Pakunoda valued hers, which is interesting, isn't it? Ultimately, Crollo sees it as more valuable for him to find a way to circumvent what's been done to him or to simply live the life he's been left with. Kurapika knew when he took Pakunoda onto the ship that this was exactly what would happen, but there was no way around it, and so he did what he needed to. Meanwhile, Hisoka also did what he needed to, which unfortunately resulted in the Anti-Schwing, his dick inverted, a sight that entertained me more than I could possibly have anticipated. The lack of colour and the stillness of the frame was so perfectly descriptive of that invert that even though I suspected what the outcome might be, the reward was worth so much more than what I imagined. Meanwhile, he allowed Gon and Killua to escape, and the others simply watched from the window as the only possible alternative to his Schwing satiation was taken from him, floating away with the clouds. There was something great about the fact that his entire membership of the troupe was removed, which meant that he could spend time with Hisoka in the first place. If Crollo had thought that would put him in danger, it was a nice reveal for him, but Crollo doesn't bloody tell us what he's thinking anyway, so it wasn't as delicious a reveal as it could have been. I want more delicious reveals. From Crollo, specifically. It still doesn't actually explain to us how people join the troupe. Is it the tattoo that makes them a member? Is it the induction? What exactly does it? I'm hoping that information becomes clear at some point because it's very obvious that this thread of story isn't quite over. The fact that they still haven't made it to Dumpland is an indication of that. The fact that Crollo's headed east is an indication of that. Where is east? We haven't been given an overall map with their locations, have we? Probably. If we have, Liam can show it now. Back to Pakunoda. She was proof that the Phantom Troupe are just wayward kids looking for a place in the world. The moment with the kitten and her saying hello to it was a beautiful touch. And let's not forget she broke... I've already forgotten his name. That guy's arm from a day ago? Squala. She's not a good person, but the important point, and one I guess this series is really trying to drum into me at the moment, is that this world is full of not good people. That doesn't mean they're bad people, just that they're not good people trying to make their way through the world however they can. They're all not good people trying to achieve their goals. It just so happens that everyone else is trying to achieve goals that conflict with theirs. So they often kill them because that's the best way to achieve their goals. They have the same moral code as Kurapika and Gon, as shown by Slick and Shady thanking them at the auction. Killua and Hisoka are their own creature, but they also don't necessarily kill unless something is specifically in their way or it's actually just really, really fun. If you were to replace that action, the killing part, with literally any healthy way of behaving, they'd all be normal people, but I guess that's the point. They're not healthy or normal people, and they have magical powers, I guess, so that's another thing. That's what elevates them above the level of say, your average hunter exam entrant. The fact that they're also being guided by fate is an interesting one. As their fate shifts, there's no way for them to read it anymore. Crollo's out for the count, Neon is knocked out or otherwise disabled, Kurapika has a fever now, that red eye really got him. He maintained it for a very long time in fairness, and he knew from the last time that he really shouldn't do that. I wonder what will happen from here. Essentially, he has cut the head off the spider, but he also knows that Pakunoda would sacrifice herself to get the information to the right people. He, specifically, instinctively knows that. So, what's he gonna do? There's no point in hunting down the members right now, and he really can't, he's too weak, so I guess we shift focus back to Greed Island, unless something else turns up to side quest them. Maybe it's time for Leorio to have a side quest shift into main quest territory. There's only one way to find out. Episode 59. Well, episode 59, and we are into a denouement. Gon and Killua are hiding information from Kurapika, who's still knocked out. These episodes are always interesting because they often give us a bit of downtime before carrying us into a new story or moment. I find them sort of oddly paced because we immediately went from one arc to the next and into a new intro and outro sequence even this time, which is great. It's great to have confirmation that the arc has finished and we're in a new story, but the arc shift itself felt a bit abrupt. It's a really fine line, but with so much emotionally unfinished, I struggled. And maybe it's because I essentially watched a season finale and a season opener this week, but it was a little jarring. Maybe it wouldn't have been if I'd timed the episodes better. I mean, I can blame myself, but Looking back slightly, I didn't go into this last episode because I thought it would be better placed here, and I think I'm sort of right. At the end of last episode, we got Gon and Killua acting like kids again, sitting around eating snacks with Killua's magical, constantly growing wardrobe, proving that he is in fact the height of fashion. Bringing up the plan Gon had what feels like a really long time ago, but was in fact only a couple of days, it's interesting that Gon can have such an incredible plan but fail to think about what he'd want as a special skill. I'm not entirely sure what to class Gon's intelligence as, because as fun as it is to say he's a dunce, he's actually not, despite the show constantly deciding to push him into that trope. He thinks fast on his feet, but he also thinks very practically based on the contextual information he has, which means it's not all instinctive. The plan he came up with to get into Greed Island was a good one, and yes, while I've probably flip-flopped on his intelligence several times, the gap between Gon as an intelligent, caring character and Gon as a buffoonish psychopath is a really odd dichotomy to have to deal with episode by episode. And yes, we could wave a magic wand and say, yes, waifu, turns out people are complex and it is possible to write three-dimensional characters. There is a limit to the extent that that feels consistent and works. The brain-frying experience he has, I could almost understand if he hadn't shown his ability to think quickly in the last few episodes, and to ask really competent questions that were in fact so competent and clear that Killua commented on the usefulness of having someone around who wasn't afraid to ask them. Gon is not a buffoon. Killua is also not a buffoon. Killua's more childlike than Gon because we see in Killua the drive to prove himself intelligent by overcorrecting his attempts at being grown up. Basically, he tries so hard to look and act grown up that he presents as younger, and there is something very charming about that. The power that Killua decides to define as his own is so perfectly his and calls back wonderfully to what he said to the guy in the tournament about how he was used to electrical torture. It's a good choice and works very well with his color scheme. Meanwhile, Gon's signature power becoming Power Fists is also very much in keeping with his own Goku-like hair and demeanor. Sometimes I wonder whether he was in fact styled after Goku from Dragon Ball because the buffoonery doesn't seem to fit him as much as I want it to. Then combined with the power punch he seems to be building and his hairstyle, I'm waiting for weighted clothes, y'all. Just saying. Or maybe wait, which came first? The Goku or the Gon? I'm gonna say probably the Gon, actually. Which means, Goku, stop copying. It's cheating. Although you grew up faster, which is good, I guess. With a new arc comes new, really important characters, and I have to say that I'm sorry in advance. I didn't learn the names of the characters before. It was great to see Chicken Wing and Sushi Zushi, but I really didn't learn any other names, and I'm already overloaded by White Eyebrow Guy, so I don't hold out a great deal of hope for anyone except Hisoka and maybe Blonde and Curly whenever we meet her. Probably in-game. This arc, based on the intro only, seems like it's going to take a dip into the Pokemon world. We're going to do some item collecting, we're going to do some choosing of people and characters, we got to collect some hunter cards, and maybe we'll see Ging, Jing, Jinging, Ging, Jing. Jing. And maybe we'll see Jing. Maybe we'll see Ging. Maybe we'll see Jing. Wait, the way the intro ends, it looks like they're working with Hisoka. Is that true? Is that a thing that's going to happen? If so, I'm intrigued. It also looks like we're setting up for them not to have any contact with Leorio and Kurapika. Are we having a couple of the group take a break? It makes sense. Give Kurapika a break and let Leorio finish learning to be a doctor while they get in there and do their own kid-like growth stuff. Oh, before I forget, there was really no payoff, unless it's coming and we haven't got there yet, to Piggy getting to the auction. Killua had a moment of recognition, and from there nothing at all happened, and it was kind of... It felt like a huge waste of energy and time. I really hope it comes back, but after all that, it sort of was just unfocused and annoyed me a little bit. That there are going to be some of the Phantom Troupe in the game with them is interesting, because either they'll come together to get out, or they're going to become the next major rivals of the next arc. Either way, the two of them will return, leaving the rest of the troupe outside. Yay? I don't really know how I feel about them, given they were my least favourite characters of this arc, so it'll be good to get to know them maybe, I guess. And before I sign off for this episode, let's discuss the chibi animations. I love when they use little cute chibi animations to highlight the oddity of things and to educate. Cute little struggling Kurapika, cute little hallucinating Kurapika. What? Licking and eating and chewing the chains. It was so cute. We're going to get to learn a little something from Cute Gon and Killua each time. Liam, I want a chibi me. Make a cute chibi me, please. I am ready. Because that's it from me. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to click here, here, and here. If you want to see more as it arrives, feel free to hit the subscribe and bell thing, I guess, and come hang out in the Discord server. Thumbs up for a chibi waifu too. Woo!